training's taking you through or helps you, cope with, get through, work through dark times. So when did you first realize that was what you needed to work through that? Was it in prison or was it before going?
In my life?
Yes, in your life.
Yeah, before prison. I had it when I went into prison. I was already a national level bodybuilder at that point.
Yeah, so what sparked it?
I started training super young. I had some experience with weights. Like I was lifting free weights from when I was like 12 years old, just because I had that weight set. So once I had it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this. I did it every day. Bench press, shoulder press. It was kind of a part of my deal, my routine. As I started to do it with other people, I realized I was better than those people at it. So I was like, oh, this is something I'm actually good at, and it's something that I know how to do. And there weren't many things on that list at that point, like is the case for most people in their early teen years.
Yeah.
So it became a staple, became part of my character. The fact that I was willing to do that consistently when other people weren't. So it became somewhat of like a point of pride for me that I did that,
Or significance basically being seen?
No. Just it was something that I didn't care if other people knew.
Yeah.
But the fact that I knew that I did this thing that most people don't do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I did it I took it seriously. It was something about me. It was a characteristic. It was maybe not unique, but it was something that was different. And it wasn't that I really cared about other people knowing about it. You know what I mean?
No, I get what you're saying.
But I didn't have any comparison.
But you cared about knowing about it.
Yeah. And so I'll give you an example. I used to bench and I would always be benching and squatting with this kid that lived on my street. And I had this little shitty, like a Hulk Hogan bench. And I remember he trained with me pretty regularly, and I was stronger than him, which I expected because I was bigger than him. But he had a brother that was bigger than both of us. And he was walking down the street one day, and we're like, yo, why don't you come over and lift weights with us? And he came, and he laid down and was like trying to bench press. It was only like 150 pounds, but he couldn't do it. Like he put it on what we were doing, and he like touched it down to his chest and like messed up, and we had to like pull it off of him. And I'm like, that was the first time I ever realized, I'm like, man, this is something I can do that everybody can't do.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that I expect to be way bigger and stronger than me, and he can't do it. So it became, at that point, it became something that was like sort of cool, right?
It's a sense of accomplishment,
Yeah.
Self-confidence, self-confidence, I suppose.
It was the first thing I was good at, maybe.
Yeah.
Right? And then, it's not to say that I was like the best at it by any means. I wasn't, but it was something that I was pretty good at. And at that age, there's not many things that you're pretty good at, And so it kind of backdoored its way in for me. So because of that, I was doing it fairly consistently at a young age for an extended period of time. And, I had a very rough upbringing.
Well, you said earlier that without training, the training saved your life.
That's it. That's what. So that. Let me get to that part. That was the tie. That was the thread that was woven through the fabric of my entire story. That's the only thing that was always there. So the way it got in, the first pass with the needle was that it was something that I tried and I was pretty good at. I wanted to be like the people that could do it. I felt accomplished because even other people that were even a little older than me, I would expect to be stronger, weren't. So that got the hook in me. And then as that needle keeps winding through my whole story, I learn things, I make mistakes, I end up in prison, and I still have that thread. I still got that thing to hold on to. And that's how I got through. That's the thing that got me through. There's no question about it. That was the reason that I was able to make it through that whole experience, was that I had that to not only to look forward to challenge myself with, to sharpen myself with, to try myself with. It like built my confidence. The fact that I could actually help other people do well with it. I knew I could. I was already working. I started working as a personal trainer when I was like 18. But it's inextricably linked to me in every way. It's been a part of my life, like from the beginning there, and then through all the dark parts. See, that's the thing that I try to impart in other people about this, is that you don't realize how important this is to you until everything else gets messed up. Like kind of what we were talking about with the lockdowns. The people, like, here's how you know that questionnaire that I was talking about works. It's because I didn't lose anybody. I lost one person. because every single one of those people that I was working with when the world shut down and every gym closed, every single one of those people needed it. So it was effective. So that strategy of trying to make sure it's something that people need was working. And it's it may be a journey to get to the point where you realize that you need it. But I think until you get there, it's very difficult to see things through. The idea of just doing it because I want to win a contest or I want to win a competition, I don't think that lasts.
Well, if you didn't have that, where would you be?
Me?
Yes.
I would be in prison still, probably. I would be back in prison. Yeah. I can't even imagine where I'd be, dude. Honestly, I don't even want to think down that road. Somebody like me, you know, I'm a man of faith. I believe that was part of the plan. I think that God put those things in my path so that I would use them, even though I didn't understand at the time. But a lot of times when things come into our path, we don't know what they mean, you know, when things cross our path. This is something that I picked up, and for whatever reason, we can talk all day about what maybe the reason was that I decided to keep lifting when I was young. For whatever reason, it was still there when the time came that I needed it. You know what I mean? So it's, it's something that it's linked to every aspect of my life. It's linked to my faith. It's linked to everything. You know, like when I'm lifting, and this has been the case for a long time because I wasn't always vocal about my faith, but when I'm lifting, I'm praying the whole time. I pray before every set. I pray during sets. You know, it's like an experience. I look at it as something that is a spiritual journey for me, you know? And, you know, I think we all get on or off course a little more throughout different periods in our life, but you have to ask yourself, and for me, when I look back at, you know, at this point in my life, when I look back, which it's been a lot of experience and it's been long, the one thing that I can say that was there throughout the entirety of it was that. I always had that. I always had a firm hold of that thread. You know what I mean? And it carried me through. And there was times in my adult life, even after I got out of jail, when I was, you know, you would think doing better. Like I was successful, like, you know, selling books, coaching people, making money and what have you. But like, you know, I was, you know, in a state of despair. I was despondent for most of my adult life. And that was the glue that held me together, you know, was the ability that I knew, like, I could always go back to that. I could always make a plan and, you know, I would look at it like I'll lay out a plan for me that's going to be challenging. And then I would look at it like, okay, well, I always feel, again, it's very difficult when you get into motivations, it's very difficult for me to explain motivations without touching on the topic of God. Because I feel like it's an experience with me and God. And that's it. And that's not to say like it's a private thing that only I'm getting or what have you. It's individual, you know, how that works. But for me, like everything, when I lay out a plan, it's like I make a deal with God. I'm going to do this part, and that's it. And we'll see what happens on your end. Because I know that God has the power to put things and make things happen for me or not, you know? So if I give 100% effort, my experience has been this. If I give 100% effort in something, he makes a way.